A free ride. Who wouldn't want a free ride? Oh, that's coming right up. Well, here we are at Valenti Classics again, and here's Steve Valenti. He's with me. We're going to talk about a free ride, and this is a special program. So, Steve, you got to tell us about the free ride and what it is and why you do it.
Yeah, the Classic Free Ride is a event we've been part of for the last 6 years, and what we do is we build a collector car pretty much from the ground up. And the idea is we get to tour it all around Wisconsin and give people that otherwise wouldn't be exposed to collector cars an opportunity to see how cool they really are and try and corrupt as many people as we possibly can. But ultimately the idea is to build a car, it gets given away at the end of the summer each year. And so it's kind of a way to give back to the community a little bit, give some exposure to the collector car world, and then ultimately give some exposure to our business and the services that we offer here in Milwaukee.
And this year it was an Oldsmobile 442, which is an incredible automobile. So you have to tell us a little bit about that. Where did you find it?
Well, we scoured the nation. We went from coast to coast, and this thing we stumbled into it. It was actually in an alley garage in Chicago, so not too far from our main office here. So we learned about the car, kind of got a little bit of the background. Of course, started with some pictures in advance, and everything started to look pretty interesting. We got in our truck and headed down to Chicago to check the thing out. The woman that was selling the vehicle actually had owned the thing for the last 30 years. So it's kind of fun that that she had this thing for so long, had so many great memories in it, and realized that she just isn't using it anymore, and it sitting didn't do it any good. So it was a perfect candidate for us to come in and ultimately do a restoration on. The car, we wanted to make sure that it was a real deal. So we went through, broke down all the numbers, checked the codes and everything else, and in fact decoded and authenticated that it was a legitimate 442 convertible, still retained the factory born-in motor and transmission, and the color had been changed at some point in the 80s, so you'll see it being kind of an off-white, and the original color it was a gray. So it was when we restored it, we brought it back to its original color.
Yeah, and then I don't know, I suppose the lady, was she a little teared up when you took it away from her, or was she glad to see it being used for something good?
Well, she was excited to see, to learn about our project and the promotion we were doing with it, and that ultimately someone would put this car back on the road and have some fun with it. But it was definitely a sad day for her. Her sister was there to kind of give her a little bit of moral support, because it kind of became part of her family after 3 decades of ownership, understandably so. We have cars and we might have them for a couple months and I get attached to them, so I can only imagine 3 decades of ownership.
Yeah, well, that's for sure. I can understand that. Not wanting to give up much of my stuff either that I've had, sometimes for a short period of time, sometimes for a long period of time, but we all know what that's like. But it was a happy day when it came off the trailer in the shop, wasn't it?
Yeah, oh yeah. Everybody was pretty excited. And, we picked it up in our enclosed trailer, and we kind of locked it up in the building because we didn't get home until pretty late. But the crew couldn't wait to bust open the doors of the trailer and see what we really found this time.
Well, what did you do first? What was the first steps, and how did you sort of plan the restoration?
The first step is, we put the whole team on it. Everybody kind of wandered around the whole vehicle, put it up on a rack, and did a really, really thorough inspection. We have a process here. It's a 200-plus point inspection that we do on every vehicle that comes in. And basically it's a major health exam. We'll run compression check on each cylinder. We're pulling wheels, checking brakes, checking the measurements that are on the pads, if they're reusable, seeing what brake components or fuel system or steering or suspension components have failed, look at the electrical components, what's working, what's not. And that kind of creates a pretty big punch list of items we need to do, and then really kind of figure out what we're trying to put together. This particular one, we know we wanted to do paint and body work, we wanted to do upholstery work, and we just didn't know how much mechanical work was going to be required. So that inspection revealed a lot.
Right, and then so the body work obviously that needed to be done and repaint, and I understand that you have a full-fledged body shop here and an upholstery shop as well, huh?
We do, yeah. We're full service, and we do everything in-house. We do full paint and body fabrication. We've got the upholstery division as well, all the electrical work and mechanical. And we do subcontract out the chrome plating, and then if we're going to acid dip a component or a car, we do subcontract that out to a couple companies. And we do all our own motor building in-house. We got a couple really good machine operators and builders and stuff like that. If the motor needs to be bored or something like that, we do send it out to a machine shop that has a specialized tooling for that. But it comes back as a nice clean raw block, and we get to do all our magic from there.
Speaking of that, what did you have to do with the Oldsmobile's engine?
The engine was tired. The cylinder, the bore was still really good. It just needed to be honed out. But then at that point, we did all new bearings, all new seals, new cam, new lifters, and then we did a couple little upgrades to the thing to get a little more performance out of it. We did a roller rocker and cam setup on the thing. We did a lot of higher end components internal, because we want to make sure that if it's going to have a little bit extra power, we want to make sure it's going to hold up, because it's a muscle car and you're supposed to put your foot into it. So yeah, we did an upgrade on the intake manifold. We ran an Edelbrock aluminum intake manifold, quick fuel carburetor on it, and then we did some it's full 316 stainless steel from end to end on it, custom TIG welded. We do all that in-house. It's got stainless headers and everything as well, so it gets a little more free-flowing exhaust, get a little more power any way possible. So with all the modifications, we were about 30% increase in horsepower from what the factory did.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
All right, from there we go to the transmission and the rest of the drivetrain. What did you have to do there?
Transmission was in pretty good shape as well, but it's the might as well as a restoration, we call them. It's that far apart, you're going to open it up. You're not just going to throw a new filter and seal in it. You're going to go through the whole thing to make sure it's sorted out. So we completely rebuilt the transmission. We put new U-joints, made sure that the drive shaft was in balance, put new U-joints in it, rebuilt the rear end, all new bearings and seals, and new ring and pinion in the back end, kept the ratio the same as it was when it left the factory. And then all the brakes were completely redone, all new wheel cylinders, new master cylinder, new brake lines, and the rubber flex lines. Fuel system is completely brand new, tank lines, fuel pump, the whole deal. So you're kind of starting off fresh. Steering and suspension components were all rebushed and redone. So you ultimately want to create a car that you can get in, turn the key, and it does what it's supposed to do when you want it to, and it'll take you to and from your destination.
Right, absolutely. I really liked the treatment you did on the wheels too. That's kind of a special little insert that you put in there. Do you do that on a lot of your restorations?
We do, yeah. And this particular one, we partnered with Summerfest on this build. It was in celebration of their 50th anniversary. And so we wanted to do something kind of a little bit trick and unique to kind of showcase the car as a Summerfest car, because it was being given away there. So instead of the Oldsmobile logo that we would normally find in the center of the rim at a center cap, we had a custom decal made, a dome decal that has this Summerfest 50th anniversary logo, which we thought was kind of a fun little touch.
Oh, absolutely. It's a fun little touch. And for those of you who don't know what Summerfest is, it's probably the largest concert in the United States. It goes on in Wisconsin, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Something you need to Google and check out to get a flavor for what Summerfest is and the amount of people that would have been there that saw this at Summerfest, didn't they?
Yeah, it's a fantastic. I mean, Summerfest is the world's largest concert, basically, and and they've got acts, all the top acts coming in, and depending on what you like, you'll find it at Summerfest. As far as music goes, and as far as food and drinks, that's there too. It's an 11-day concert that goes on. They've got a really good 4th of July fireworks show as well, but they get, I think, about 850 to 900,000 people through the gates at Summerfest from all over the world. It's pretty good exposure.
Yeah, pretty good exposure for sure, for you and for of course Wisconsin and the car itself. So
Right.
It was given away at Summerfest?
Yeah. So at the end there was about 50 finalists that qualified, and there was a drawing, and it narrowed it down to 11 people ultimately, and to represent the 11 days of Summerfest. We went up on stage with Gene Miller, the local 620 celebrity. He's the news guy on 620 WTMJ, who we partner with on the Classic Free Ride promotion. I was up there with him, and then the 11 finalists ultimately. They all got to draw an envelope, and then there was a kind of a drum roll, and they all opened it at the same time, and one of those envelopes was a simple piece of paper that said you won. There were 9 men on stage that were finalists, and there were 2 women. And the neat part or interesting part was that the fact that this car came from a ownership, a woman had owned it for 3 decades. The new winner or owner of the 442 is a woman, so it was kind of fitting for this particular car.
Yeah, what do they say? What goes around comes around, that sort of thing. All right, so now here's another day of mixed emotions, right? So we have a brand new happy owner and a sad Valenti's, right?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I guess the part that helps us, get over it a little bit is to know that it's out on the road and going to be enjoyed, and this person couldn't have been any more excited about winning this car, and right away she couldn't wait to get in the car and go for a ride. So that was pretty cool. That made it helpful. But we're getting smarter as we do these things. We make sure that we hint quite clearly that we get visitation right. So they got to come back to us for some maintenance and stuff like that, and at least to let us look at it at worst. So.
Visitation rights, I absolutely love that. But they do need service from time to time, and where better to have a service than where it was built or rebuilt in this particular case, right?
Right, yeah, and we'll do this, if a bulb goes out, we'll do that, simple oil changes, any type of maintenance we'll handle, not only on the cars we build, but, cars that other people might already own.
Well, really, thank you for your time and visiting with us again and telling us a little bit more about what you do here at Valenti Classics and the Olds 442 Classic Free Ride that was given away at Summerfest. So if you guys need to get more information on Valenti Classics, what they do, look at the information in the metadata down below, get a hold of Steve or anybody here, and you would just be amazed at what comes out of this place.